Hey guys, and welcome to what will hopefully be the beginning of a new series on my channel. My name is NG Paradox, and yesterday Creative Assembly dropped a trailer for their new game, Total War Three Kingdoms. And like many people, I'm extremely excited. I love the period of the Three Kingdoms. I've read the book, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and it's such a great time period. It reminds me of things like in Game of Thrones and stuff. There's politics, intrigue, backstabbing, chivalry, love. It contains everything with hundreds of characters, and that makes it difficult to follow the story sometimes if you do read the books. But yes, I'm going to be creating some lore videos about the different characters that we expect to see and the ones we do know that we will see based upon the little information we've been given so far. So that means those of you maybe who do not know much about this time period and are not so excited, hopefully by seeing the lore, knowing about these characters and different history, and obviously the events that have led up to this and after this and how things go, maybe that can actually give you that excitement that some of us have because we do know about it. And maybe some of you maybe just don't care. I don't know. And maybe for some of you, you just need to reignite your ideas of what happened. Maybe it's been a long time and you found yourself here. For today's video, though, we're just going to keep things simple. We're going to talk about what we can expect to see based upon the information given to us so far in the trailer and on the Steam store page, which is not much information, but there's a lot more there than you might think that we can speculate on. And also because of the period, we can speculate a lot about maybe some of the mechanics or the things we might see. And of course, the different factions. There's certain factions we have to see, and that will be expected. So, the first question a lot of people are going to be asking, and that we need to kind of question first and answer, is this going to be a Three Kingdoms game that follows extremely historical accuracy? Or is it going to take inspiration from the book Romance of the Three Kingdoms? Now, if you don't know what this book is, there are 4 classical Chinese novels, one of them being Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and the others being Journey to the West, Water Margin, and Dream of the Red Door or Chamber. The translation's a little bit off from what I've been told, so I'm not exactly sure which one it is, but yes. And in this book, it basically chronicles what happens during the Three Kingdoms period, the lead up, what happens, and obviously the ending, and goes through all the different characters. But there's obviously some fabrication here. The different characters obviously have got their own personalities, the conversations they have obviously are not real, and some of the events maybe are taken from tales or folklore or kind of made to look better or worse than they were. Now, this is a big question because this can change a lot of things and maybe what we can expect from the game. I think, though, based upon what we've been shown in the trailer, it's likely we're going to see more Romance of the Three Kingdoms type of Three Kingdoms here. I'm not saying it's what I want. Personally, I do like Romance of the Three Kingdoms books and the story it tells, but some people I know prefer the historical. But from the trailer, I would expect us to go more towards the Romance of the Three Kingdoms storyline, because in the trailer we see Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei, and they seem to be at the battle against Dong Zhao in the coalition. Now, in Romance of the Three Kingdoms book, Zhang Fei and Guan Yu do fight Lu Bu, which is what we see in the trailer. But in real life, from what I can remember, like I say, my memory can be a bit hazy. From my memory, I don't think they were there. I don't think they fought Lu Bu. Likely, if you're going to make a trailer of it, you'd probably put Sun Jian fighting maybe Lu Bu. That would be more historically accurate. So that does give a hint. Maybe we're seeing more Romance of the Three Kingdoms type of story, which can be good or bad. Now, obviously in the trailer as well, we do see Dong Zhao and Lu Bu. That does tell us, obviously, we're going to be seeing the events of Dong Zhao's rise to power and then his assassination and fall. And, of course, then Lu Bu after that. Now, this choice, I think, is probably where the story will begin. I don't think we're going to see the Yellow Turban Rebellion. Now, like I said, I'm going to make some lore videos, so if you don't know what the Yellow Turban Rebellion is, we are going to talk about that in a future video, most likely, but I don't think we're going to see it in the game. But it is an important event, of course, because the Yellow Turban Rebellion is all about how the people are losing faith in the Han Dynasty due to the fact that the Emperor is, shall we say, an indulger. He loves, women, fine food and stuff, and he basically sells offices to the highest bidder. And so the people start to lose faith in the Han Dynasty, and they're easier to kind of tempt into joining the Yellow Turban Rebellion. But like I say, we'll go more into that in a future video. You can make a whole video just on the Yellow Turban Rebellion, and it is put down, and that then leads to Dong Zhao taking power and controlling the Emperor after that. And then the warlords all fighting amongst themselves, and the Emperor basically loses control of the whole situation. And so that then leads you loss of the people and loss of control of the warlords. The Han Dynasty basically was about to end. It's pretty obvious. The writing was on the walls. One of those events is pretty bad. Both of them basically showed the Han Dynasty was going to fall. But I don't think we're going to see Yellow Turban Rebellion. And it does make sense because the way that Create Assembly are doing things, obviously we got to think about the Warhammer games. That has obviously going to affect how they do their next games because they've learnt things from them. Hopefully they will have better sieges. That's my really big thing. I'm not saying it means they're going to have fantastical elements in the game, but I'm talking more about things like Legendary Lords. That really fits into this type of game where you have a ridiculous amount of characters that you can do. I'm hoping they don't make them immortal. I don't like that personally. But like I said, I'm trying to keep away from my personal opinions here and just talk about what we might expect to see. I would prefer if they can die because that would make sense in the game as well. But that's just my opinion. But with the Yellow Turban Rebellion, it's all about the people rising up and the warlords come together to try and put them down for the Emperor. While if we start with Dong Zhao's time period, what we get is a bunch of different factions of warlords, all in kind of, none of them being too powerful, but having this looming danger of Dong Zhao's power at the time. So you could definitely have many different factions during this time period, different people you could be, and it's kind of a build from their situation, like it normally is in most Total War games. So it's probably, it does make sense to be the best time to pick. So I'm going to say here and now, based upon the trailer information that we've got, the Steam store page specifically seems to be saying we're going to start a fight in Dong Zhao. That means I don't expect to see the Yellow Turban Rebellion. You never know, maybe they might have different campaigns. We know in like Rome 2, obviously you could choose different campaigns. There were normally DLC and stuff. So there is a chance it could come out as DLC in the future. You never know. Or maybe in the base game, they'll have different campaigns possibly as well. I mean, you never know. So there is a chance it will come in, but I think it's likely we won't see the Yellow Turban Rebellion. Now, obviously, what characters are we likely to see? What factions are we likely to see, specifically in China? Obviously, there's the Emperor, but you're probably not going to play as the Emperor. The Emperor, at this point in time, is weak. He is being controlled and manipulated due to the fact that he is so young. So having a faction of the Emperor probably isn't going to happen, but maybe if you control the Emperor, you get certain bonuses and buffs. That's something we're likely to see. But if you're not, if you're not knowledgeable of the Three Kingdoms, the characters we're likely going to see obviously are Dong Zhao and Lu Bu. That has obviously been shown in the trailer, so we know they're going to be in the game, and they're going to probably play as the main enemies at the beginning. Dong Zhao being the tyrant, the cruel tyrant at the time, and Lu Bu being his shadow, faithfully watching for any threat against him. Like I say, famous warrior. They say he could defeat 100 men, 1,000 men. Men would run just so they don't have to fight him. Other people we're likely going to see based upon the trailer: Liu Bei and his two brothers, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei. Those are definitely going to be in the game, of course. They have to be. In the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, you would say they're probably shown as the hero characters of the books. Though nowadays, if you ask a lot of Chinese people, obviously it's a bit of propaganda. and, Liu Bei probably was never really that nice. A lot of them see now Cao Cao as the real hero, and that's the other character we definitely are going to see, Cao Cao. Now, I do think that the character we saw in the trailer, I do think it was Cao Cao, and someone told me that there is some Chinese writing that says his name during one of the scenes. So it does sound like it is Cao Cao, but it could also be a couple of other characters we'll talk about in a second. But these three factions, we're definitely going to see. We are definitely going to be seeing Dong Zhao faction, Liu Bei faction, and a Cao Cao faction. That has to happen. Now, other ones that really need to be in the game, like I say, if you're a Three Kingdoms fan, you know what factions are definitely going to be in. The Sun family would be next. Obviously, during Dong Zhao's rise to power, this would be Sun Juan. He was obviously a very capable fighter. He opposed Dong Zhao quite a lot, especially historically. And so he is definitely a choice because he will go on, obviously, to make one of the Three Kingdoms. It's interesting, this game, they're calling it Three Kingdoms, which I guess makes sense, even though it's set just before the Three Kingdoms. But, yeah, whatever. But Sun Juan is probably going to be on the other factions, so there's at least going to be 4 factions. Now, obviously, in the Warhammer games, there were only 4 factions, but this isn't a fantasy game. The factions aren't going to be as different as in Warhammer. It's probably going to be more along the lines of like Attila and Rome 2, possibly. That's what I'd expect for number of factions, hopefully. I mean, you'd hope so. So we could see other people such as Yuan Shao, who was another person, or people saying, that is the man in the trailer possibly, though I still do think, based upon what someone told me, it's Cao Cao. But we could be seeing Yuan Shao. I hope we do. He's a very important character during this time period, and one of the most powerful warlords at the time. Then we've also got his other relative, Yuan Shu, a very scheming man. So those two, I think, are quite likely for us to see. But all of those characters are kind of around the same area of the map. So obviously in the south, maybe southwest. In the southwest, we don't really have many characters in that area. So we could see a faction of Liu Zhang. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them, or Liu Biao. One of those two, I think, would probably be quite a good choice for some variety. We may even see a faction in the northwest of Ma Teng and his son Ma Chao. That's obviously another quite big faction. So if we're going to say what factions there might be, those are factions I would say we could possibly be seeing. Cao Cao, Sun family, Liu Bei, and Dong Zhao. These are definite factions that have to be in the game. And I would expect Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu possibly, but maybe with Yuan Shao and then Yuan Shu kind of being between Cao Cao, Liu Bei, and Sun Ce, you might not have Yuan Shu, which would be a shame. But then I'd expect either Liu Biao or Liu Zhang to also be a faction in the game. But yeah, so you can see we're already going through a lot of information. For someone who doesn't know Three Kingdoms, this is a lot of potential things that could be going on. But then we got to talk about how is the game going to deal with all the different characters? Because obviously we've got the factions and the leaders, but what about the other characters? So for example, I really hope they will bring back the family tree. I really think they should. In my mind, it's expected. Having a family tree in this game is so important because a lot of the events of the Three Kingdoms are changed because of death and the children taking over. For example, Sun Jian, he dies quite early on, and Sun Ce, his son, takes over. But then he also passes on. We get Sun Xuan. So this means there's a lot of changes when it comes to children. Cao Cao as well, his son, Cao Pai, is another important character. So I really do feel the family tree needs to be brought back and even improved in many ways. And then how they're going to deal with the other commanders. So for example, you got Liu Bei, he's got his 2 brothers, Zhang Fei and Guan Yu. But as he expands historically, he gains many other famous generals, such as Zhao Yun and Ma Teng, actually. Ma Chao, sorry, not Ma Teng. Ma Teng's son, Ma Chao, joins him as well. He gets Zhuge Liang. There are so many strategists and generals that will join him in the future, as well as politicians. How are Creative Assembly going to deal with this? You know, the current way that maybe Attila or Rome 2 deals with it would not be preferable. For example, if you start as Liu Bei, maybe you only get Zhang Fei and Guan Yu, and then if you try and recruit a new general, is it just a randomly recruited general? No, it can't be. There's so much information in the books and historically, they can put in every single character for if they need to. So if Liu Bei then recruits a new general, he can choose one of the historical people possibly. It really needs to make sure that they get their historical facts correct, because this time period has so much information about it and so many people, they have that information to deal with. So I do hope maybe we get a really precise kind of recruiting general mechanics, as well as possibly governors. This is something I hope they're going to bring in, and that's to kind of instate governors. Some of the people involved in the story are maybe not as good generals, or some of them are just maybe really good at strategy. But some of them are not. Some of them are more politicians. Maybe we could then choose in the game, when we take a city or a province, maybe we can put a character in charge of that area. That would be something I think would be really cool and would be a really nice idea. And maybe each one, different ones give you different bonuses. But yeah, so there's a lot of different things there. Include, like I say, talking about how many characters there are. The Sun family, as they expand, they get people like Zhao Yu, Lu Shun, Lu Meng, Zhao Te, Gang Ning. These are all famous generals that can be integrated into the game with interesting backstories and personalities. I really hope they do that justice. If you don't, what's the point in doing a Three Kingdoms game? So that is something I expect to see. I'm expecting it. These are things that I expect to see. Doing the characters properly, doing the family tree properly, those are things I expect. So that's about the factions and people in China. Now, obviously, a lot of people talked about the fact that if we have a game in China, especially set in the Three Kingdoms, what is the variety going to be like? Are all the factions going to play the same? And to that question, I would say no. There is a lot of things they can do to add variety. I know it is one country, it's China, but remember, China is massive. It is ridiculously big. Trying to go from like Hong Kong to Beijing is maybe, I'm not sure that obviously the actual difference, but it might be like going from Glasgow to Rome, possibly. So there's extreme distances in China, and different regions are very different, especially in this time period. If you go to the southwest of China, you will see the people there are seen as a lot more barbaric, more uncivilized, and they ride elephants. The people of darker skin, they ride elephants maybe. That means that region is going to have different types of units, different strategies. And of course, I say elephants in particular. That's kind of one of the big things. So there is already variety in these ideas. The northwest as well, where Ma Teng is, could also include different types. Maybe, and of course, the naval combat. Now, China obviously is mainly on the land, and not much of the warfare is going to be in the sea. But one or two of the battles that are particularly famous, such as the Battle of Chibi, are on the river. So are we going to have battles that are river and land battles possibly to show, sort of Chibi? Or are we just going to have like a river battle so you can send navies down the rivers and stuff? Because that's an extremely famous battle. They need to be able to allow us to kind of redo that battle. So we could see naval mechanics developed a bit more in this game possibly. Usually though, it's not going to be anything particularly special. Empire obviously is the naval game. That game is specifically made to have amazing naval battles. Going back in the past, not as interesting, but that could definitely be a thing in this. But there's definitely going to be unit variety in many different ways that you can do it. Usually going to be based upon the geography of the different factions, I would assume, as well as some of the specific characters having their own types of units, maybe special guard, etc., and obviously certain areas of their own specialities. But another question a lot of people might be asking is, are we going to see outside China factions? That's obviously a viable question, People are going, are we going to see Korea? Are we going to see maybe the south of China, maybe like, in Thailand or something? Are we going to see Tibet, Mongolia, these types of things? There's many countries and people surrounding China. So are we going to see factions of this? And personally, to me, I would say probably not. I know a lot of people might feel it's like a thing you probably would see, but I actually feel like choosing the Three Kingdoms period, you're probably not going to have a faction outside China, because most factions outside China wouldn't get involved in China, and it wasn't historically correct to do that, especially with a lot of the areas around there. The only one I think might have an effect is maybe the northern hordes of like Mongolia and stuff. We might see AI kind of hordes coming down from the north and raping and pillaging the lands of the north. That is something I could see. Maybe similar to how Chaos War works in Warhammer. Not the same, of course, because it shouldn't be like an end game thing. It should just be maybe every so often there's a chance that a horde might go over the border and start attacking different provinces and raiding and stuff. That to me would make a lot of sense, and I think that'd be really nice. So we might see outside skirmishers coming in, but I don't expect to see any outside factions, because to me, if you're going to make this game, there's so much detail and ideas you can do with China itself and the different warlords and factions that concentrating on places around outside it could possibly take away from it, and is not, in my opinion, historically accurate and not even needed. But that's my opinion. A lot of people might want that, but I'm going to say, based upon a creative standpoint, I don't think they will. I say, even though I don't want them to do outside factions, I just don't think Creative Assembly are going to do that. There is no hint of that. But I would not be surprised if we do see raiding factions, maybe, horsemen coming from the north. That would be something I think would be really cool to see. Now, items. Obviously, Creative Assembly have been working on, last games were like Attila, Warhammer, and it's going to be Bretonnia as well. Though Bretonnia kind of feels very similar to Attila, I don't think they're really pushing that game too far. I really do hope we do see some real development in this game, because it is the next major historical title. But also, they did say they're going to use the things they've learned from Warhammer. As I said, things like Legendary Lords is probably to be expected, but they could also bring in items. In Warhammer, obviously, if you win battles, you can get items. If, obviously, you maybe do certain quests and stuff, you can get other items. Now, personally, for me, I don't like the quest battles in Warhammer at all. I feel they're just kind of a diversion from the game that I love, the sort of sandbox nature of it. So I hope they don't bring back the quest battles, because that to me wouldn't make much sense. But a lot of the characters do have items that are specific for them. Unique items such as weapons, horses, and other things, maybe like the Mandate of Heaven, etc. There's definitely many items you could put into the game. Now, I would love them to kind of enhance what they did in Warhammer, and maybe have characters start off with certain items. So, like, obviously Guan Yu is going to start off with his weapon, but you don't just get given items for winning a battle. I wish they'd have it so certain characters all start with certain items, and to get the item yourself, you have to defeat them and take it from them. That would be something I think would be really cool. It would really enhance the idea of, these being specific characters and the items having a history. I think that would be really good. So I'm really hoping they do expand on items. They might not do items at all, but it would seem like a missed opportunity to me due to the fact that there are specific items talked about in this time period, such as Lu Bu's horse, red hair, or, like, say, Guan Yu's weapon of choice. I think it's called a dragon blade. I think that's maybe what they call it. I can never remember. And I think Zhang Fei is a serpent blade. They sound too similar. I'm sure Zhang Fei's is a serpent blade. But yeah, it'd be really cool if they do something with items. Now, the other question I've been trying to think about, like I said before, talking about like different characters and how they're going to do it. Are they going to give us many generals, or are we going to allow maybe to have multiple generals in one army? I think that would be really good. Or are they going to go with maybe what they did in Warhammer and have heroes, possibly. Now, obviously, we do know there's always agents and stuff, but they're going to have legendary heroes. So are certain characters always going to be generals? Or are we going to have special, unique characters that are also heroes, maybe, and can jump in the army of Liu Bei or Cao Cao or Dong Zhao? That could be an interesting premise. I don't think we're probably going to see that. I think there's a chance we might be able to have multiple leaders in an army. So maybe they'll bring that in, possibly. And like I said before, I do hope that they do kind of do their research and just, there's so many characters they could put in. I hope they don't do randomly generated characters like we've done in previous historical Total Wars. I really hope they don't. The information's there, you can just put it in, and the game can randomly give you a choice of some of those historical characters, maybe. I don't know. This is just ideas. But yes. And remember to keep in mind, this is set during, I guess, just before 200 AD, about 190 AD, this scenario is set in. They could add in a variety of other scenarios and campaigns. Like I said, they could do Yellow Turban Rebellion. They could do periods after Dong Zhao's rise to power, when maybe like the Battle of Chi-Bi. Maybe they'll do when it's specifically just the Three Kingdoms. There's many ideas they could do for different campaigns. And being set in that time period, it's actually during the same time period as the Roman Empire. So I find that actually kind of funny. It's interesting to think that this is actually set during the same time period as the Roman Empire. So you never know, guys. You never know. Maybe Creative Assembly will give us some DLC of a Roman invasion of China. No. I really hope they don't do that. Please, Creative Assembly, don't do that. Don't try and make people happy and just change some of the historicalness and add in invasion forces of Romans. I mean, it'd be hilarious. I can imagine someone modding in, taking the assets from Rome 2 and making a Rome faction invading China. Yeah, sorry, that's just me being silly, just thinking about possibilities. But yes, I'm sorry, this video has been, I think, long enough. I'm sorry to have used up so much of your time. I hope this maybe gave some of you an idea and added to your thoughts and feelings about what we can expect to see and what the time period can really give us when it comes to ideas of mechanics. Like I say, things like items, the army variety, the factions, heroes possibly, you might have legendary heroes and stuff, governors. I really hope they do something with governors, and I think we probably will see things with titles. Titles during this time period were very important because remember, the emperor is still the emperor, so technically it's still one country, even with all these different warlords basically controlling their lands. The emperor has no control over them at this time because they're all fighting one another to try and gain as much power as possible, but he still gives out titles to them, and those people give out titles to their, vassals and people below them. So titles can be quite important. So I really hope we do have like a system of titles or governors involved. So there's definitely, like I said, I don't want to think too much about it because, like I say, I could be getting my expectations too high. Because as we know, Creative Assembly don't always expand upon things as much as we'd like. Sometimes they have in the past, though. So I'm really hoping we get to see some really good historical mechanics involved. So yeah, I hope that was interesting for you guys. And I say I'm gonna maybe after this video make some lore videos about the different specific characters that I've been mentioning, as well as some of the smaller characters and some of the events that are involved in this story and in the lead up to it, to allow people then maybe who don't know as much about this period to become more enthralled in the time period and be excited for when the game releases, because we got a long time. We got a long time to go, and I'm looking forward to seeing what information they do release to us. I do think it'll be a while, though, until we get some proper good information, though, because obviously there's still quite a bit of time, and Britannia has not been released yet. So that will probably come out, the Thrones of Britannia. But I'm looking forward to it. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. What do you think in the comment section? What mechanics do you think this time period could introduce? Do you want to see some mechanics come back from previous games? Do you want to see mechanics from the most recent games being put into the game? Or maybe what things do you not want to see? For example, I do not want to see Total War Warhammer Sieges. Please give us... I would rather have an AI that can't handle sieges, but they look amazing, like in Attila. A lot of people said that, that their thing was that in Attila, the AI couldn't handle the sieges very well, so they made them easy in Warhammer. Personally, to me, I think the sieges were fine in Attila. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but they were fine. And in Warhammer, I'm just like, I can't be bothered. So I really hope they go back to the drawing board on that stuff. But yeah. Oh yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I've been NG Paradox.